My story starts when I was in kindergarten in the cafeteria eating lunch. I'm eating my lunch, a hamburger, french fries that day. That's a good day. So this kid comes up and he digs in his nose and he puts his finger right into my hamburger. And he runs off. And I get so angry that I grab my burger, I squeeze it, and I throw it across the cafeteria, and I hit him pop right in the back of the head. And lo and behold, as most cases go, the teacher caught me doing bad. So back then, you can kind of, for lack of a better term, whoop kids. So I caught a whooping right there in front of all the other kids, and she kind of punched me in the back and threw me to the ground and picked me up and threw me out the cafeteria. So for the next 2 years, I pretty much carried the label of a troublemaker. And it was funny because I never really caused trouble. I always tend to react to it. So I kept getting caught doing things out of reaction to someone else doing something to me. By the time I got to second grade, I found myself reading with kindergartners, doing math with first graders. It was like I was in a situation where I was not treated as grade level, but I was a quiet kid and I didn't talk much. I put my head down, I slept a lot. So fast forward through the school year and it's time for our field trip. We're going to the Coca-Cola Bottling Company, and it was like one of those trips that kids get all hyped for because you're gonna learn how to make Coke. You're also gonna get to drink Coke, and you're gonna have fun because it's in our neighborhood. Like the bottling company is like really you can walk there. So we get ready to go on a field trip. My teacher says to me, go on a chore, go to this other office and go pick something up for me. I get there and I'm waiting. I get back to the classroom and they're gone. The lights are off, classroom's empty. I got left. So I go sit down at my desk and I put my head down. And while putting my head down, I just noticed that teachers kept walking by the classroom and they were just walking. They would look and be like, hey, and keep walking. They never asked me why I was in there. They never asked me if I was hungry at lunchtime. And it was like 9 in the morning from the start, 2:30 to the finish. So when 2:30 came and my class came back, I sat up and teacher came in and the teacher was like, girl, I just need you to know, he didn't do nothing. He just sat there. He didn't run around the school. He didn't do a thing. I don't know what he did, but I think he learned his lesson. And my teacher about died. She looked up, she started crying, and she said, oh my God, I forgot him. And as she's looking at me, I'm looking at her. She calls me to the desk, and she asks me if I'm hungry. She sends other teacher Popeyes, and I get 2-piece chicken, I get some cold drink, I get some potato chips. She looks at me and says, is that enough? I'm just eating. Kids are mad at me, and I'm like, scratching my head because I didn't understand why I was getting all this stuff. And then I go home, I didn't say nothing, I just go about my day. And the next day, I'm in class and the teacher just looks at me and says, come here. And she asked me one simple question. She just asked me, why didn't you run around? Because most kids would have been all over the place. No supervision, nobody telling what to do, and I already had a reputation. And I said, because it's not what you're supposed to do. And she was bewildered, and she looked at me and she said, can I do something? And I said, what? And she asked me if I would be willing to take a test. And I said, sure. She gave me the test, I took it. She said, take another one, I took it. She gave me another one, I took it. This went on for like 2 days. By that second day, she called me to her desk and she says, you know what, I need to tell you something. And I said, what? She says, did you know that you were reading on a 6th grade level? And I said, And she said, I don't think you understand, you're reading on a 6th grade level. And I said, okay. And she said, how is that possible? Because I'm reading with kindergartners, And I said, well, I read every day when I go home. I've been reading since I was 3 years old, so I could read. And she said, you know you're doing math on the 4th grade level? It's okay. And then she says, well, she didn't understand because I'm doing math with 1st graders. And I said, well, I've been doing math my whole life. In my neighborhood, you know, we always doing something. We have little clubs and we messing with money, always trying to hustle, wash cars, whatever. And I'm in 2nd grade. I learned to do all that stuff starting like kindergarten in New Orleans. And so from that point forward, it started treating me like a very important person. So I went from this label of being this arbitrary dude, this dude that just gets in trouble for no reason, and I got in trouble a lot, to this dude that, hey, I'm going to introduce you to this 3rd grade teacher and this 3rd grade teacher, and you pick which class you want to be in. And so went that story. The lesson I learned in all that I do now in my own work as a director is, one, you never know the whole story unless you get into it. Because they could have asked me one time, why did you push that kid? Why did you do that burger? Or whatever. And they hit a whole story. It made perfect sense. But it's never too late to invest in a child and to find out how far they really can go. Because I could have easily been in special ed all through grade school. Instead, I became a gifted and talented student and moved on to college, and now I'm here.